Good afternoon, and welcome to this murky, murky day, almost April in northern Michigan. It's exciting watching the snow disappear, and things are actually starting to grow. Yay, power of life, power of spring. In fact, if I was king of the world, you needn't worry because I would make New Year's March 21st. It just makes so much more sense to me. March 21st, New Year's. But anyway, I'd like to invite you to the land of could have been. My brand of experimental archaeology and thought experiments puts me in a place where I see need and I see available materials and available technology. And although we do have a record, a historical record of various weapons and various implements and practices and theories and meditations, all this, I also believe there's a lot missing. And maybe I'm totally out in left field with this idea for this large wooden prodded crossbow, which is actually a longbow joined to a tiller. Perhaps. But how many times have we looked back and saw that if something is able to be done, at one time or another it was done, especially if it had benefits. Now let's go back to the land of crossbows, within this land of what could be. Heavy crossbows are good crossbows. Heavy crossbows can do things that light crossbows can't. Being able to throw a projectile very far, very fast, with a lot of foot-pounds of energy, a lot of joules of energy, is a desirable thing. And so there's ways around it. You can have a heavy crossbow, metal prodded or composite or what have you, with a short power stroke that's relatively, and I don't mean a slam, relatively inefficient. A short power stroke compared to a long power stroke, it's more efficient to have a long power stroke. And there's certain ways around this. What if some of the heavier, longer range crossbows were actually long wooden prods? It's possible. It's entirely possible. I have no idea how far my project 80-pound longbow joined with a tiller can throw a projectile. I would be happy if it could throw it 200 yards. Looking at YouTube videos, wealth of information, a lot of great people working on this. I see flight shooting and flight target shooting with modern crossbows, but none with like the metal prodded or even really the wooden prodded ones. There seems to be a gap there. I have no idea. I hear things, but I want to see it for myself. And so just from knowing that like a projectile that can be thrown 200 yards has enough energy within it, enough kinetic energy to do ill things to whatever that projectile means. That if I can shoot 200 yards with my wooden crossbow, which you're going to see, I'm holding this, you're going to be impressed, then it was a viable weapon. Yes, it is relatively large. It's not compact. It can't be like carried as easily through areas where there's forest or walls, hallways or whatever, but in a somewhat open area that would be large enough for this, I believe, and we'll see, the proof is in the pudding, that my 80-pound long draw crossbow, which is eminently simple, all it is a longbow, stuck onto a piece of wood, that perhaps these things existed. When I was in the 6th grade, I visited the castle, so I've seen a castle firsthand and kind of understand, dimensions and how things work and shooting down and stuff like that. No expert, but I can envision a longer limbed crossbow, and at 80 pounds or 150 really, you have the speed factor of setting the string. You don't need to break out your Cranaquin. You don't need to have a goat's foot lever. You don't have to have any other lever. These things, if you had a stirrup, load it, fire, draw it a lot faster than, you get my point here. And so let's see this. For those of you who have Tim Taylor syndrome, which I have to admit, you know, I think monster trucks are cool. I was on a can and I love big things. I like this. So shall you. And here it is. Eminently simple. And perhaps, you know, you're noticing this is relatively large. You know, with a lightweight tiller here, that bow isn't really that bad. This is not uncomfortable. This is not uncomfortable to hold this thing back. Isn't this thing like a beast? I like it just because it's large. And again, fast loading. Put it down, stir up, draw it back, click it in here. And I am using the skein style Longbow mechanism. I like the simplicity. One piece of wood, two pieces of wood. You know, the trigger, extremely simple, extremely fast to make. And as far as, you know, were these things ever used? What about if Daddy the elite archer was wounded or, you know, heaven forbid, got killed? And the bow is sitting there. Maybe Junior got the idea, well, I can't draw that longbow like my pappy, but I can certainly stick it on a piece of fence post and make a crossbow. So when those creatures come running at me, I'll have a powerful weapon. And so there we are. Some thoughts. It's large, you know, physically large, but not excessively large. And I compare it to like a heavy metal prodded crossbow. This, I've never held one, but I can't believe that this would be any more unwieldy or heavy. Efficiency, long limbs, long heavy limbs, but the efficiency will get to a good point when it's drawn heavy. And I've designed this 32 inches. So it's 32 inches of draw, very long power stroke, very long power stroke. And most certainly an 80-pound bow, maybe 75, who knows. If I use it a lot, it might drop in weight just because. String follow, 75-pound bow drawn to 32 inches. It has to shoot more than 200 yards. And this is going to come together quickly because I'm not going to over drill this and plug this. I can probably, because of the thickness here, get away with even having a hardwood plug that pin will ride it. Going to do it as simply as possible. I'm going to put a plate here because cedar will have a lot of stiction for the string when it comes up here. I am not even going to take that piece of hardwood and laminate it to the back of this. It's going to be simple. Simple, simple. As simple as possible. Round the stock a little bit, lighten some weight off of it. Come up, and I'm thinking maybe even the triggering mechanism, instead of having it like I did that first one with the Osage Orange, maybe I could just have the trigger not even on it as a safety, and then somehow have the trigger riding in something. I don't know. Some thoughts. But here 'tis. And if you're not a fan of giant wooden limbed crossbows, you have to like this, because this is a man bow. Take that, Mr. Josie Wales. I had to throw that in there. All in all, today was productive. Did other things beside this. Went to orchestra. Now I'm going to either do a little jogging or riding my bike, because in a month I'm going to be pushing that wheelbarrow full of shredded bark. And due to the simplicity of this design, this amazing creation, my contraption, the elegance. This is not going to take a lot of time to do. Man, I could probably just rush this thing and in a half an hour be shooting it. But practice good aesthetics, practice good craftsmanship, and at every step, clean up your pole barn after you make a mess. Have a good one. Thank you for watching. Appreciate your viewership. Have a great day. Park the beast in there.